Welcome back to How to Souls. My name is Rach, and today we are starting the hotly requested, the most requested thing ever actually on this channel, Dark Souls 3 walkthrough. In the driver's seat for us on gameplay, Charleycake, absolute babe, played this game a couple of dozen times. I am Rach, I'll be your commentator for this journey. I hope you enjoy. Buckle up, grab a beverage, or perhaps play alongside us. We're going to show you some hints and tips, wisdom in a full walkthrough of this amazing game. So without further ado, welcome to Dark Souls 3.
Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge. In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones. When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich, saint of the deep, Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers. And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital. Yon the giant. Only in truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
Okay, so where do we begin? Starting class in this game is the same as the other Dark Souls games. Doesn't really matter what you pick because you can always build your character however you like as you play through the game. If you get enough souls and enough different equipment, you can start as a knight and you can completely pivot into a pure spellcaster. So don't worry too much about how you start the game. However, I've got some pointers, some advice for a more easy way to start the game. So we're calling our character Dark Souls 3 walkthrough because Charlie can't spell. Gender in this game has no bearing on character's ability or equipment that you can equip. A little tidbit of, I don't know, I guess an Easter egg here is that the only game where it actually does matter was the original, was Demon's Souls, because there was certain armor you could only equip if you were a lady or a man. So here we go, class. Age, again, age doesn't matter. It's personal preference, it's cosmetic. Class. Now here we go. This, like I said, doesn't matter, but does matter. So first up we have the knight. The knight is much the same as it is in any other archetype of RPG, heavy armor, high strength, high dex. Well, more of a quality build, so like you can use pretty much any melee weapon with this character if you keep that strength and dex up. Starts with relatively high vigor. The knight has just got like a really good stat spread in general. You start off with a basic sword and board and some nice heavy armor, so you will be fat rolling unless you take some of that armor off or level up some of that endurance. Next up, we have the Mercenary, which is the Twin Blade build. So that's what you're going to see us using for this walkthrough, because the Twin Blades are the Wind Blades. They are a really easy way to get through this game. Basically, Dark Souls 3 was where they first started introducing the like two-handed weapons. So I say two-handed. Two one-handed weapons. Dual wielding is a bit different in this game. Only certain weapons can be dual wielded. But the Twin Blades are just, they're ridiculously OP. They do insane damage, stagger, the lot. They're not really high stamina costing. They're just very, very good in general. So that is what we're going to be recommending for this walkthrough. But I am just going to go over the rest of them just to give you, I know you might want to start with something else, in which case, more power to you. Coming up next is the Warrior. So your Warrior actually has a battle axe in this game, as well as a round shield. So I guess the same sort of idea as the Knight. You've got very high vigor, however, on the Warrior, higher than the Knight has. Also much more focused on strength. So if you're looking to do a big old bonk, an unga bunga, the Warrior is a very good starting point for that. Next up is the Herald. The Herald is like a knight, but is way more focused into faith. You're going to be maybe a sort of hybrid of using miracles and using melee. You do start off with a long reach sort of spear weapon, which is really good to hide behind your shields and sort of poke enemies quite safely. Next up, we have the Thief. The Thief doesn't start with the Master Key. You've got your wee Bandit's Knife, which doesn't do much damage, but does have very high critical adjustment. So if you're using that for backstabs, for riposts, that kind of thing, it's going to do tons of damage. It's got bleed on it as well. You've got a tiny little shield that you're never going to use, and a short bow. So bows are kind of cool in this game, and well, all weapons are cool in this game. Every weapon has a weapon art in this game. That's where that originated. In Dark Souls 3, not in Elden Ring. Hey. And personally, I really love the short bow weapon art. I think it's really nice on the Thief. I think it's a really nice playstyle. It's really good in a game like this that is quite difficult to have ranged options as well as melee options. So I'm a fan of the Thief. I'm not a fan of starting with a Bandit Knife, because I feel like the first boss is quite difficult with the Bandit Knife. I mean, I say that from experience, of course. Assassin. So Assassin is, again, sort of like another kind of hybrid between Dex and Int. So Dex and Int pair well together anyway because dexterity increases your casting speed. So if you have 50 dexterity, that's you capped at max casting speed. But yeah, so this is your Dex Int hybrid. Doesn't start off with super high int, but the idea is that it's got a really even stat spread if you did want to go into some hybrid style of play. You've got an S-Stock, which is a good dex weapon, sort of like a pokey from afar weapon. And you do start off with a Sorcerer's Staff and Spook. The Spook miracle it's a bit like the Eluding Skulls in Dark Souls 1. It's a bit like that. So it's kind of useless in my opinion. I never use it. Next up we have the Sorcerer. So this is your I want to be a magic wizard build. So very high int, 16 int. This is if you're pretty sure you're definitely wanting to be a caster, because somewhat lacking in the the vigor, the strength, the vitality department. Decent attunement, obviously, because we've got several spells equipped, and that's going to affect your cast speed as well. Sorcerer starts out with a Mail Breaker as well, so you do have a melee weapon. This is not like Dark Souls 2 where you just have a wee dagger. You do have a melee option. Sorcerer's Staff, you get Soul Arrow and Heavy Soul Arrow from the start, which is huge. However, Heavy Soul Arrows takes 1,000,000 years to cast, so there's that. Next up we have the Pyromancer. You got cool little antler in this game, which I quite like. Hand axe as usual. Small shield, Pyromancy Flame that has Fireball, but also the Pyromancer starts with the Great Swamp Ring, which is really interesting because that boosts your Pyromancies. Pyromancy in Dark Souls 3 is a bit underwhelming in my opinion. After coming out of 1 and 2 thinking it was pretty decent, I think it's a bit underwhelming in this game, but throwing fire at people is always going to be fun, so I'm always a fan of the Pyromancer. But I don't know if I really recommend it, if you follow me. Last but not least, we have the cleric. I don't know what it is about the cleric. I always like playing a wee cleric. I like the mace as a weapon for bashing armored enemies. You're always going to do good with a blunt weapon in these games because everything seems to be an armored enemy. You've got a chime that you can use medicals with, and it comes with heal and force for free. So heal, obviously, it does what it says on the tin, and force is like a damage list. Doesn't do any damage. It does pushback. So if you're getting overwhelmed, force can be a way of remedying that. Did I say last but not least for cleric? I meant last but not least for deprived. Deprived, you all know what deprived means. It means you're Billy Big Bollocks and you're starting the game with absolutely nothing. Well, next to nothing, absolutely naked. You've got a club and a plank of wood for a shield and a loincloth, and that's it. However, the deprived does have a really good start. I'm not even trolling here. Probably the best stat spread distribution in that you're only level 1, but you have 10s across the board, which I think works out to be like one of the best like starting spreads, just because like it's going to cost you nothing to level up in the start, but you've got 10s and everything. So I guess it's an advantage, but also you're starting at level 1, so you're immediately at a disadvantage. So I guess this is for challenge runs only, so I can't recommend it. So once again, we are going to go with the mercenary for this walkthrough, but pick what you like, and then we're going to move on to burial gift. So burial gift is basically your starting gift, but they gave it a cooler name in this game. Your options are Life Ring, Divine Blessing, Hidden Blessing, Black Firebomb, Fire Gem, Sovereignless Soul, Rusted Gold Coin, Cracked Red Eye Orb, and Young White Branch. So I'd recommend what we're going to do is we're probably going to take either the Life Ring, the Fire Gem, or the Sovereignless Soul. You might see speedrunners picking the Young White Branch. You also might see people taking Black Firebombs. Life Ring, I'm not a fan of the Life Ring. It just gives you a tiny little bit more life. But it can be the difference between surviving and not surviving. And you've got 4 ring slots in this game, so it's a solid choice. It's just not one I ever tend to pick. I think it's just a bit boring. The Black Firebomb can allow you to get some really good damage on the first boss, and also a couple of really quite difficult enemies in the first area, so they are a solid choice as well. Fire Gem, I think, is good fun because it is basically giving you a free infusion on your weapon, making you have a fire weapon from the start. But we can also find another infusion gem really early on, and we can find a raw gem, so it definitely will improve your damage like right from the start, but we are probably not going to pick it on this walkthrough. Sovereignless Soul is a solid choice because it's literally 2,000 souls, which is like extra levels from the start, depending on what starting class you picked. Obviously, they all start at different levels, so they cost different amounts to level up, but that can be a few starting levels in a stat that you are lacking in. Like, for example, if you pick a sorcerer, it can give you a few early points into vigor, which again can really help against the first boss. The others I'm not even going to talk about because I don't think they are good choices. They're just things that you can find in the game anyway. I mentioned Young White Branch. This would get you through an area, like the 3rd area in the game. This get you through a little bit easier, but it's not, again, it's not better than the other choices here. So Charlie's decided to go with the Black Firebomb, and I trust her because she's very good at video games. So we will show you the best way of making use out of the Black Firebombs as your starting gift in this walkthrough. But there's really no wrong answer. Like, whatever you pick is going to be good. So just pick what you like. The cutscenes are bloody good in this game, aren't they? Right, welcome to the Cemetery of Ash. This is our tutorial area. So if this is your first Souls games, you will find these messages on the ground. I recommend you reading them because learning the controls is pretty important because you do not get much time This game pretty much throws you right in there. So Charlie demonstrating here what not to do, two-handing her shield, because she's just come from playing Elden Ring. So in this game, if you press Y or triangle, depending on your controller, it will two-hand your weapon. If you then hold that button, it will two-hand your left-handed weapon. So that's why her shield went into two hands. So she's just gone ahead, unequipped her shield, and then we have pressed Y to two-hand our regular weapon, which, as I mentioned in the character creation, is unique because we have the twin blades. So this will go from being a one-handed weapon to two one-handed weapons, and we are now dual wielding them. That's quite hard for me to say. We're going up here on the right just to pick up a little soul here that we can pop to get some levels when we get to the appropriate place. Taking out a few of these early guys just to get a handle on the positioning. Pressing L1 instead of R1 when our weapon is two-handed. Be sure to pick up the Ashen Estus flask there. I mean, you can't really miss it. But coming in here, we can go up behind an enemy to do a backstab. That is just with R1. L1 can't do backstabs. If you're going to do backstab, it's going to be with R1. Similarly with a riposte, if you are parrying. Which we're not, because it's hard. So yeah, you've got two Estus flasks in this game, much like if you're coming from Elden Ring. You've got your Estus, which is your health potion, and your Ashen Estus, which refills your FP, your mana, your hacking skill point stuff, your spell juice. So you can pick that up there. So here we go. Yeah, be sure to read all of these little messages on the floor. They are dev messages. They're not player messages. If you're playing online, you will be able to see player messages, and some of them will be truthful and some of them will be trolling. But these all in this area, they're all dev messages. This particular dev message that Charlie has completely ignored says turn back, because here is a very powerful enemy here. It's a ravenous crystal lizard. So this is a very early on sort of joke, I guess, to teach you that sometimes it's a better idea to come back and fight these kind of things later when you have more experience and when your character is better equipped. But by all means, guys, if you want to go fight him, go give it a go. We are going to be fighting him at the end of this episode just to show you how to beat him. But if you want to go give it a go, please do. Just, I don't know, keep rolling, I guess. Up here is our first bonfire, so we're going to light that just in case we, I don't know, like happen to fall off the edge. We're going to rest there to get a couple bit of health back. And we get an emote, which is cute. And we get a rest emote. We're going to stick to the left and take out this guy here, because on the left here, as you can see from this message, it teaches you how to jump. So we're going to aim for this white tree here and just jump off the edge using L3 and pick up this Titanite shard here. Very important. Titanite shards are for leveling up your weapons, which is way more important than leveling up your character. If you fall off a ledge like this and press R1 as you are falling, you will do a plunging attack, which deals heavy stagger and damage. Through this gate ahead here is the boss. We're not going to go through there just yet. We've got a couple other little bits to just quickly explore, bits to pick up that are going to make our life easier. So we're heading back now, round, like sticking to the cliff. There's a lot of these little sort of hollowy guys. They're just sort of chilling, but you may as well pick up some nice early souls from them. I mean, it's not really that nice. They're like 20 souls each, so that'd be a bit of a waste of time. But nothing's a waste of time when it comes to practicing and getting good, you know? Down here, we're going to plunge onto this guy here. This guy has a heckin' spear, and he's a bit annoying. So we're going to plunge, get out the crossbow guy, and then try and get behind this guy for a backstab. However, this is quite dangerous to do when you're fighting on a cliff, because if you roll, you're gone. Thankfully, we do get the backstab, but if you're struggling to get around him, you can always try kicking, which is actually quite tricky. You have to push forward and R1 sort of like at the same time. So you can try kicking enemies with shields, or you can literally just, I guess, get your shield back out, block him, and then counterattack. But going around him and fishing for a backstab is it tends to work quite well. So what we picked up there were some fire bombs. So now we have black fire bombs and regular fire bombs. So we're going to go ahead and put them on our equipment bar like so. So now we have them available for quick use, and they are going to be very much of use in this upcoming boss. So the first boss of this game is kind of hilarious, because for the first time, in my opinion, Souls game has a difficult first boss. Oh, well, I don't know. I guess Demon Souls had quite a difficult first boss, but this is Iudex Gundyr is unlike anything. Like Dark Souls 1's first boss, like you thought that was bad. This is a hard boss. So we're going to use a couple of tricks in order to make him slightly less hard. So he has 2 phases. The first phase, all we're going to do is just strafe around him. The second phase, we're going to make use of fire. So to start the boss fight, we remove the sword. And what we're going to do is get a few early hits in, just as he is waking up. Is free damage, so that's easy peasy. And then as he sort of wakes up, Charlie's just going to show us a couple of moves. But basically, it's the thing is, with most of the bosses in this game, it is literally just strafe around to the right, roll, spam roll sometimes, and hit back. Keeping an eye on your stamina, making sure you always have enough stamina to get out of there if needed. Always lock, well, I say always, we should usually always lock on to enemies. There's a few exceptions, but in this case, lock on. We don't really want to fight anywhere near that cliff, so if he's going too close to the cliff, you want to back off. The only problem with that is you do invite him to start doing much more difficult moves like that charge move. Just try and dodge on time. And again, keep strafing around to the right. Anything he tries to throw at you can be tackled here purely by strafing around him and dodging through his weapon. Obviously, we're not going to dodge the same direction as his weapon. We're going to dodge against it. So we go through it. Once you are confident with avoiding attacks, now we can start thinking about attacking back, because we're not going to get anywhere unless we start doing some damage to him. So we did manage to take a little stray hit there. So your windows for healing are the same as your windows for damage. You don't want to like heal and then immediately get hit again, because that's a waste of time. So make sure you are a comfortable distance away from the boss, or he is in the middle of an attack animation or just finishing one. And then it is a safe time to heal. So we're doing heckin' damage here with our twin blades, and we've now entered phase 2. So phase 2, he gets a pus of man, which is this big sort of oily snake lad comes out of him. This thing is ludicrously weak to fire, so we're getting in there, immediately throwing the black fire bombs and getting them on. If you wanted to know how to switch item, it's down on the D-pad, but you'll know this because you read all the little tutorials in the tutorial area, didn't you? So we're switching to our fire bombs and then back to our S's when we need to heal. Things get a bit crazy here, and this is why this boss is so difficult in my opinion, because all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, I had a handle on things, and now it is things are different. It's got a completely different moveset. It's so big that sometimes locking on is not great because you can't really see what you're doing. Because we're still strafing around to the right, we do still have this little hand at the side to worry about, so we're literally just waiting for him to make a move, dodging through it, and then attacking back, waiting for him to make a move, dodging through it, attacking back. Except when we attack back with the fire bombs, it does loads of damage. And also it does kind of a little like stun on him, which is good. When you defeat a boss in this game, you get your Ember restored, which means you get your full health bar. You gain the ability to summon friends and NPCs alike, and you can be invaded. Isn't that fun? Woo! So with that, that's your first boss defeated, and in my opinion, Fromsoftware's most difficult tutorial boss. It's a tough one, so if you do manage to get through him first try, that is a big deal. In my opinion, beating Iudex Gundyr on your first try is a big deal, unless you have like 100 hours in Elden Ring, in which case, aye, fair. Do not despair if it takes you a few tries. Yeah, he's hard. So what we're going to do now is, I mentioned there is an enemy that we skipped for now, but we will go and check him out now, just to make sure that this walkthrough is like on an area and we're not coming back here later. You can relatively easily tackle the ravenous crystal lizard if you know what to do. So if you want to listen up, we will show you what to do, and you can decide if you want to check it out or not. So up here, very important, we're going to remember to rest at this bonfire to get our Estus flask charges back. So it's back up to 3. It could be useful just to go into our belt and take off our black fire bombs, because they're all gone now. We've still got regular fire bombs. There's better enemies to save those for. I don't think we're going to use those for the crystal lizard though. Again, just taking out these wee guys. They can, I guess, follow you into this area up ahead, so it's a good idea just to take them out because you don't want them stabbing you in the back while you're bothering about this other big guy. Yeah, so just get in the habit of keeping your belt tidy. We don't want items on there that we're not going to be using because you don't want to accidentally use them instead of your Estus flask when you're in a pinch. Right, so Crystal Lizard time. So this thing has rolls, it has AoE, sort of crystally attacks, but again, his weakness is just being strafed around to the right and rolling. So his moves are very slow, very telegraphed. You just want to make sure that you are avoiding and then attacking back. And then avoiding and then attacking back. So we've released lock-on for this boss because of just the nature of him being sort of zippy. I would probably still recommend using lock-on because as you can see here, it can get a little bit sort of busy controlling the camera and moving around. Here we go, so we're locking back on here. He's got some bite attacks, he's got some swipe attacks. You can swipe with his tail and he can do a big lunging roll. He won't do the roll if you're right next to him. He will do this AoE slam attack though. So watch out for that. We're just going to wait for him to move. Roll. Oh, he did do the roll. Oh, who does he think he's going for over there? I'm over here. Get back here. Key is with anything in these games, if something goes off to the edge of the arena, don't follow it. Just wait for it to come back to you. Even if you have to dodge quite a difficult attack. Because if you go into the wall and get stuck in the wall, your camera is your worst enemy. It's a bad time. So what we did there is just wait for him to come back. Dodge through the tail, attack back. Waiting for him to do something. Dodge, attack back. Yeah, it's like a dance. Literally, this technique, if you get the hang of the patience side of it... Oh, we got a stagger there. We did enough damage in a short enough amount of time that we staggered the boss, which is a really good window for, I guess, more attacks or a heal or whatever you like. Heal, buff, etc. That was a poorly timed dodge, but again, nothing really does that much damage to us. We've got our full health bar after killing Gundyr, so I'd say this is a really good time to go for the Crystal Lizard if you're feeling confident. Bear in mind, if you die, you lose your full health bar, so you have to do it with 75%. Killing him gives you a Titanite scale, which you can't use yet. We can pick up this soul here as well, which is good, but Titanite scale will be for leveling specific weapons in future. If you do decide you want to try out those instead of the twin blades, it could be useful. But more so, if you take a look at our souls count, that Crystal Lizard gave us a decent amount of souls, so we're going to get a few really good early levels quite early in the game, so that's really good. It's worth doing if you're feeling confident, but if it's frustrating you, you're not missing out on much. It's just a little bit extra souls, really. So we are going to head back to where we beat the boss, have a little rest just to get our Estus back, and also just in case there's any guys like following us, resting at a bonfire can get rid of those. We've just beaten the tutorial boss, although calling it a tutorial boss is kind of a joke because he is so difficult for a tutorial boss, but he's done. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go and keep our equipment nice and tidy. We're actually going to unequip our shield because we're not going to be using it with the twin blades. Charlie and myself actually as well, we do prefer playing a more sort of light build, a character that is wearing no armor. We'll probably get like light armor at some point in the game, but if you are nice and light, then you are rolling faster, you're using less stamina and stuff like that. So that's why we've unequipped all of our armor. But if you're a little bit more nervous and you are taking a few hits, keep the armor on, obviously, because it's better defense. This little area just before we go into the hub, Firelink Shrine, there are a few things to pick up that we're just quickly going to do. Before we get to that though, we've got another one of these annoying spear guys. So our way of dealing with them is just to try and get a backstab. Just be patient, try not to like fall off the edge and get your backstab there. It's good practice because there's a few enemies in the game that we're going to have to use this against. So there's a homeward bone there that will return you to the last bonfire you've rested at or lit in this game. So it can be really handy if you're farming or if you're like, going off the beaten path. We've got a couple guys here that are just minding their own business, not really doing anything to anybody, but we're just deciding to kill them, apparently, because Charlie's a monster. Yeah, it's a good idea just to get used to the look and feel of the Sellsword Twin Blades. Their moveset. You want to get used to it, get used to the range at which you can hit enemies. And now is a really good time to get used to it because enemies don't really hit you very hard at this stage. Apart from this dog. Got that dog in me, literally biting my flippin' soul. Almost first death was to this dog. Never underestimate Fromsoftware dogs. They are always ridiculous and so zippy and so hard to hit. And yeah, like I said, almost got our first death to a dog. Here on the left, now you do want to be really careful because there is a very, very strong enemy here that we are not fighting just yet. There's a wee shield you can pick up here on the tree. So we'll just pick up that and take out these two guys here. One thing I forgot to mention is that because we are running around naked, obviously we have lower defense, we're getting hit more. Charlie probably should have healed here, showing off best practices, but she's not healed. She's very confident. There's another homeward bone round here. There are things that can synergize with having low equipment weight. Like I mentioned, we're faster, we use less stamina, that kind of thing. But there's a ring coming up in the next area that makes us do more damage the lower our equipment weight is. So that's another reason why we're getting used to having low equipment burden, being nice and fast. We're going to chat to some NPCs here and just get to know them. This is the Firekeeper. She tends to the flame. I don't know if we want to play this as like a story playthrough or a tutorial. It's a tutorial. It's not an immersive playthrough, walkthrough. But if you're ever unsure of anything in this game, NPCs actually do tell you what to do. For example, the Firekeeper here is like, just bring me souls and I'll turn them into strength. You know, I'll bring me souls and you can level up with them. So we're going to do just that because we've got quite a tidy amount of souls. To start with, because our vigor is all right, we are going to focus on dexterity, which is going to increase our damage, and endurance, which is going to increase our stamina. So this is purely from an offensive point of view, because our Sellsword Twin Blades scale more on this layer. They scale with dexterity, which means the more dexterity we have, the more damage they do. If you're ever unsure of what is the best stat to level for your weapon, just ask in the comments below and I'll be happy to explain it, but we will be going into this more in depth later. Here is the other Firekeeper. Oh, the Dark Souls 2 Firekeeper. The Handmaiden. So she is a vendor, and if you chat to her, she does explain that she can increase her stock. She sells more items if you bring her certain special ashes. However, nothing's for free. She does charge, obviously, so it's a shop and you spend souls there. She does also have a quick hint about buying a soapstone from her, which is for multiplayer, which is a really good way of grinding some souls early on. If we go into her wares, there are a couple things we're going to purchase right away. The first one is a dagger. Now, the reason that we're buying this will become clear later. Just know that for now, we're buying a wee dagger. It's only 300 souls. We're also going to pick up some arrows. So we are going to find a bow very shortly. So it'd be good to have. We've got 61 arrows, but depending obviously how many souls you have left over, it'll be slightly different. We got some arrows to get us started, so that's good. The White Sign Soapstone is there as well if you did want to do any online multiplayer, cooperative multiplayer.
Well, a newcomer, I see.
This is Andre. Andre is the blacksmith, and if you've played Dark Souls 1, you'll be like, hey, it's that guy from Dark Souls 1. Yeah, it's the same guy. A little Easter egg, Andre here is the only character whose mouth moves when he speaks in this game. And then in Elden Ring, everyone's mouth moves, and we're all like, whoa! So he is a smith, but also he has a couple of other things that he can do. He's very, very useful. He can reinforce our Estus Flask, so if we find Estus Flask shards, that's how we get more heals or more mana heals. And he can also control how many Estus flasks and Ashen Estus flasks we have. So you can come to him at any time to sort that out. He also handles infusion. If you pick the fire gem as your burial gift, you can insert it into your weapon here to make your weapon do fire damage. However, we didn't do that. We're not going to do that because it does mess with scaling. And in the long run, we are going to look for a sharp gem instead of a fire gem. That's going to make us do way more damage in the long run. Repairing weapons you probably will never have to worry about because every time you rest at a bonfire, it does refresh the durability on your weapons. But just in case you're using something really fragile, like a rapier or something like that, a katana, I suppose, you can get repair powder, or if it breaks completely, you can come back here to Andre to mend it. Andre does explain the difference between reinforcement and infusion. So infusion is adding an element. Reinforcement is simply upgrading the weapon. However, if you do want to do any infusing beyond the basic ones that are available from the start, you do need to find special items, special coils, and bring them back to Andre to level up his available stock. Just the same as the old handmaiden merchant over there.
Prithee, be careful.
Prithee, be careful. So that's Andre. He's very, very useful. Do not, under any circumstances, accidentally, hit him with your sellsword twin blades, Charlie. Over here we have the crestfallen knight. He's in every Souls game. He is us, really, when we first start this game. Oh, our task is too large. It's too hard. I keep dying. Oh. This is Fromsoftware taking the piss out of us. Crestfallen is us. He's definitely worth talking to though, because he kind of tells us what we need to do, just in case you skipped the opening cutscene. The goal of this game, at least to start, is to find the Lords of Cinder, bring them back here to Firelink Shrine, and essentially force them to set themselves on fire. Rekindle the flame, banish the curse of the undead. It's the same old story, really. We just need a suitable vessel. In Dark Souls 1, just your player character sufficed, but in Dark Souls 3, I guess the fire is getting harder to light because it requires all these nerds. Over here, though, there is one of these nerds. This is Ludleth, who is a Lord of Cinder. He's very small, but appearances can be deceiving. Fun fact, I went for a good chunk of my first playthrough without even realizing this guy was here. So I'm telling you now, this guy is here. He will become more useful later on after we kill the third boss-ish. Optional boss, because he drops a vessel that will allow us to make boss soul weapons. Some very, very good weapons, some of the best weapons in the game. So Ludleth will handle that for us. And I believe that is all of our NPCs for now. We will collect more and bring them back here to Firelink Shrine and get various spells and wares and all sorts from them, but for now that's everyone here. So what we're going to do now is pick up a couple of items from around Firelink Shrine that we're not really meant to get yet. There is a speedrunning skip, which is fairly simple to learn and accomplish, called the tree skip. I know, that's what it says on the tin, eh? It involves running at this white tree here and jumping off at an angle so that we land on that rooftop just to the right of the tree. So, it sounds simple, right? But no, it does take a few goes, and it does take our seasoned veteran Charlie a few goes as well. Personally, I think I'm all right at it. It is kind of tricky. I think once you get it once, it does click. But it's worth learning because the things that are up here on this roof are definitely worth picking up. There's an Estus flask shard up there to name but one. So if you can pull this off, fantastic. But if you can't, don't worry, you can get those things, but it's going to cost us 20,000 souls to get the key to enter there organically. So she's getting the jump right, but the angle is wrong. She's sort of more aimed to the left. We need to aim more to the right. So you run and then you sort of turn at the very last second once you go up the tree to jump towards the roof. I'm leaving in these sort of failed attempts here because I do think it is important with learning. So we finally make it, grab our homeward bones here, and what we're going to do is we're going to ignore this opening here on the roof and we're going to go all the way around the outside. This does mean that we will have to do the tree skip again. Once again, ignore this guy with the katana. We're going back to him later. He is not what we're going to spend time on right now. We're going all the way around the back because there is a little crystal lizard here that is definitely worth killing. This is the earliest Twinkling Titanite you can get for when you have a weapon that levels up with Twinkling Titanite. Twinkling Titanite weapons do tend to be very, very strong. They are unique. So there you go. There's a bit of increase for them. They're also quite expensive to level up. Watch her do this first try. What an absolute babe. There we go. So we're going back up on the roof here. If you don't need Twinkling Titanite and you don't plan on, you know, ever replacing the twin blades, don't worry. Just go straight through here. Carefully, because you can very easily just run off the edge here and you have to do the tree skip again. In the middle here is our crows, our tradey boys. Pickle Pea and Pumper Rum. They are in every Souls game and they will trade certain items in exchange for much, much more valuable items. So there's a couple that we can do right from the start. First of all, we're going to pick up this Estus Shard. So that's going to get us 5 Estus Flasks, 5 heals rather than 4. Very, very good. We're going to drop a Fire Bomb. So to do that, we press A. We go down to Leave and we select 1. In this game, right away, the trade happens right away. You don't have to like rest or quit out and restart or anything like that. It happens right away. Just make sure you do leave rather than drop. The pumperums, the crows will trade you a firebomb for a large titanite shard. This is the earliest large titanite shard you can get, which our twin blades are gonna use. So again, definitely worth doing. Those firebombs were picked up for free back in the tutorial area, so if you missed them, go back and get them. If you still have a black firebomb left, we used all of ours on Iudex Gundyr. If you have a black one left, you can trade that to get a titanite chunk, which is going to be for much, much later. Dropping down here allows us to get the covetous silver serpent ring. Foes yield more souls. This is absolutely huge because you have 4 ring slots, so we can equip that right away. And we're not going to need to replace it for a really, really long time. This is going to get us 10% more souls from all sources and just make our life easier in general, because more souls equals more money for spending on levels and on weapon levels and on shop items. So very good. We're going to go to Andre and give him the Estus Flask Shard, or I should say whatever it's called in this game. I think I'm living in Dark Souls 2. And that'll get us our 5 Estus Flasks after we rest at the bonfire, obviously. It's still saying 4. There is but one thing left to do here in Firelink Shrine, and that is the guy that I told you not to worry about. Now we're going to worry about him. So the Naked Swordsman, he is, he's tough. So there is a way that you can sort of get him nice and early without fighting him honorably. There is a sort of cheese way that you can fight him, and it is kind of tricky to pull off. And Charlie will show you exactly how tricky it is to pull off. Because he has a katana and he is using the weapon's art, like this sort of unsheath ability, you can exploit that by... Bye, Charlie, bye. You can exploit that, and you can wait for him to do his unsheath, his charge attack near the edge, roll out of the way, and he will charge off the edge, basically. I did want to show this off. So if you ever find yourself facing this wall of fog, do not panic, because this is simply the other side of Firelink Shrine loading in a little bit slower than the first half. So you just need to sit and wait for it to load in. I'm not sure why that still does that in 2025, but here we are. So back to the swordsman. Yeah, if you are hanging around near the edge, wait for him to do this charge attack, roll out of the way. We were drinking, so we had the right idea. Here's what not to do. Hang out near the edge, roll out of the way. Even if he doesn't immediately, like, you know, fall off the cliff, you can sort of hit him a couple times if he's near the cliff and get him to fall off. He does actually follow us off the cliff here, which, I mean, it works. It works, I suppose. But the idea is to get him close to the edge and then sort of knock him off the extra little bit. Don't panic, we just have to refresh, and his stuff will be sitting there waiting for us, as you can see where he was there. If you do knock him off the edge and survive, you can either reload the game or run back, rest at the bonfire, and then go back, and you'll be able to get his stuff there. He drops the Uchigatana, which is a beloved weapon in every Souls game. So if you're an Uchigatana lover, that's how you can get it super early. Good dex weapon, quite fragile, but it's iconic. It's a classic. So that is Firelink Shrine done. There's a couple things other that, you know, obviously, but we can't do those yet. That's Firelink Shrine done for now. And now it's time to head to our first area, our first level, and do our first boss in the next episode. So be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. If you leave a like on the video, then I like you, and I really hope to see you in the next video.